Welcome back to Learn English with Stories. Have you ever missed an important deadline and didn't know how to explain it? Today's story is about David, a project coordinator who made a mistake that could cost his team an important client. At first, he tried to ignore the problem, but soon he realized that avoiding it only made things worse. Let's begin. David had been working as a project coordinator for nearly a year. His job was to manage timelines, communicate with clients, and make sure everything was delivered on schedule. Most of the time, he was organized and careful. But recently, things had become more complicated. Over the past few weeks, David had been handling multiple projects at the same time. Each project had its own deadline. Each client had different expectations. At first, he believed he could manage everything. "I just need to work a bit harder," he told himself. One Monday morning, David opened his task list. There were many things to do: emails to reply, reports to finish, meetings to attend, and somewhere in that long list was one important project, a project for a key client. The deadline for that project was Friday, but as the week went on, David became more and more busy. Every day, something urgent appeared: a last-minute request, an unexpected issue, a new task from his manager. So he kept delaying the important project. "I'll do it tomorrow," he thought. But tomorrow became the next day, and the next day became Thursday. On Thursday afternoon, David finally opened the project file. As he looked at the amount of work left, he felt a sudden wave of stress. There was still too much to do. "This is going to be tight," he whispered. That night, David stayed late at the office. He tried to focus. He tried to finish as much as possible. But he was already tired, and the more tired he became, the harder it was to work efficiently. Friday arrived, the deadline day. David sat in front of his computer, staring at the screen. The project was not ready, not even close. At that moment, he had a choice. He could inform the client immediately, or he could stay silent and hope to finish it later. For a few seconds, he hesitated. Then he made the wrong decision. He said nothing. Hours passed, the deadline passed, and still no update was sent to the client. Later that afternoon, David received an email. The subject line was simple but serious: "Project status update." David felt his heart sink. He opened the email. The client was asking for an update, expecting the final delivery. Now, David couldn't avoid the situation anymore. He had to respond. For a moment, he thought about writing a quick excuse. Maybe he could blame technical issues. Maybe he could say there was a misunderstanding. But deep down, he knew the truth. The delay was his responsibility. So instead of making excuses, David decided to be honest. He started writing his reply. "Dear Mr. Lee," he wrote, "I would like to sincerely apologize for not delivering the project on time." He paused for a moment, then continued. "This delay was due to poor time management on my side, and I take full responsibility for it." As he continued writing, David focused on solutions. He provided a clear update on the project's progress. He explained what had been completed and what was still in progress. And most importantly, he gave a new timeline. "I will complete the remaining work and deliver the project within the next 2 days," he wrote. He added one more sentence: "I understand the impact of this delay, and I will make sure it does not happen again." Before sending the email, David read it carefully. He knew this message was important. Then, after a deep breath, he clicked send. The waiting began. An hour passed, then another. David tried to focus on his work, but his mind kept returning to the email. Finally, a reply arrived. David opened it slowly. "Thank you for your honesty," the client wrote. The tone was calm but firm. "We are disappointed with the delay, but we appreciate your clear communication." David kept reading. "Please deliver the project as promised. We will review it once completed." David leaned back in his chair. The situation was not perfect, but it was still under control. 2 days later, David completed the project and sent it to the client. This time, everything was accurate and well prepared. A few hours later, the client responded. "Thank you for the update," he wrote. "The work meets our expectations." David smiled slightly. He had made a mistake, but he had also learned something important. In business, missing a deadline can damage trust, but clear communication and responsibility can help rebuild it. And sometimes, facing the problem directly is the only way to move forward. Now that you've heard the story, let's go through some useful business English words and phrases that appeared in this situation. First, let's look at the word deadline, which refers to the final time by which something must be completed. In the story, the deadline was a key factor, and missing a deadline can often lead to serious consequences in business. Next, we have the phrase time management, which means the ability to plan and use your time effectively. David realized that poor time management was the main reason for his delay, and this is a very common challenge in real work situations. Moving on, we come to the word delay, which means something happens later than expected or planned. In business communication, it is important to clearly explain any delay and provide updates as soon as possible. Another important phrase is take responsibility, which means to accept that a mistake has been made, instead of blaming others. In this story, David chose to take responsibility, and that helped maintain a professional relationship with the client. We also have the word update, which refers to new information about a situation or progress. Clients often expect regular updates, especially when a project is ongoing. Finally, let's look at the phrase meet expectations, which means to reach the level that someone hopes for or requires. In the end, even though there was a delay, the final result still met the client's expectations. As you can see, these expressions are extremely useful in real business communication, especially when dealing with deadlines and project management. So, what can we learn from this story? Missing a deadline is a serious mistake, but avoiding the problem only makes it worse. Being honest, taking responsibility, and communicating clearly can help you fix the situation and rebuild trust. If you want to improve your business English in real-work situations, learning through stories like this is one of the most effective ways. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow the channel for more stories. See you in the next video.